Hello, everyone. Hey, it's Friday. How are you? Good to see you. And I trust that the world is doing good. Warm here. I don't know. It was freezing cold just 3 days ago, but my, how it changes. So, what's up? How are y'all doing? Seeing y'all been talking in here. I got in a little bit earlier, was talking to a number of folks in the chat room. Want to say hello to all the moderators. Thank you, Brian, True Heart, and all the rest of y'all. Hello, Plower. Looking at some new folks here. What is that? Fooking sock? That's interesting. Jerry, how you doing, buddy? Franny, how you doing? We're good to see you. Cheers to everyone. And away we go. Hello, Peter. Jama, how you doing? Rebecca, good to see you. Boy, there's just a lot of y'all. Good to see you. Peace. Hey, have you heard? A rescue? We'll get into that in a little bit here. But first, just kind of covering some things. Did you see the actual pictures of what the dark side of the moon looks like? Nothing like they've been trying to tell us what the front side looks like. Isn't that a little odd? So, what are we going to find? What are they going to find? What are the Chinese going to find? I don't like this whole thing, we're first to space and, you know, everybody else better kiss our butts. I don't like that idea. But I got a sense that no matter what man may think nationality, where they may be or not be in space, got a sense that there may be yet more surprises of someone who's a little bit smarter than we are. What do you think? So I wore the nuclear shirt here today for a particular reason, because folks, if things continue the way they are, wow. We this is a documentary of my journey. You could say my awakening, you could say my discovery. And along the way, I've picked up, nearly 40,000 fellow sojourners. Who would have thought? I mean, seriously. And, we're still growing, but nevertheless, and anyone can go back and you can see, as I think it should be for all of us. I encourage all of you to start making your own video diary. And before we get too much further, I'm invoking favor upon all of us. Great favor, folks. May there be nothing missing, nothing broken in your life. And may we have full restoration of our memories of who we are. And so I just speak favor into your life. Peace. You've got peace and you have favor. Guess what? You are the wealthiest spirit walking. You can have a little spring in your step, baby. Says, oh yeah, I got the favor thing going on with me. And I think that that's where we can begin to look at some opportunities for restoration of our memories. I know this. I spend a good deal of time in my downtimes focusing now on a specific task. Never had the, how shall I say, the desire or the intuition. I don't know. Does intuition and desire go hand in hand? Or does one activate the other? Interesting thought, isn't it? But nevertheless, of ever thinking that there was something beyond this current state of consciousness, I look at it now and I go, why didn't I see this before? Um, I don't know how many of you listened to the radio broadcast last night. I encourage you. We got a lot of feedback. The audience over in the Artist First um, is goes around the world on their network, and it had a reaction today that wasn't related but was related. And cheers to one and all. Um, whatever time zone you may be in, whatever reality you may be in. Um, so I had a conversation with someone who knew me, I guess it's been about 4 years ago since we actually talked. And they were just remarking about how much I had changed. And, when you're in the middle of a discovery, you're not aware of time. It's really odd. When I look back, I can say the last 60 months have been really a condensed, intense time. Isn't that odd? We use time to describe space, time to describe events in our lives, progress in our lives, or maybe the lack thereof, who knows? But in any case, and they were remarking that, well, you were a very strong, devoted Christian. And I said, yeah, there was that time. And, they just were very, I know that they were being kind, but they were still very much in that God spell that, well, you've gone over to the dark side, and, the devil has just deceived you and tricked you. And yeah, it went on and on. And, you know, and I said, well, listen, I dig where you're coming from, been there myself. But I said, allow me to give you my elevator presentation. And if anyone knows what an elevator pitch is, you'll smile at this. So doing my elevator pitch, in 30 seconds, I explained how the Bible is an unreliable document. It's not an historical document. It is a literary work that how it represents many different gods. And, when I asked the simple questions, and it really comes down to a couple simple questions, and I asked them of this individual. And again, he wouldn't answer it. And I said, there you go. I said, if you can't answer a simple question with a yes or no, I said, didn't your Lord say, make your yeses be yeses and your nos be nos? No ambiguity in between. So, yeah, it's been an interesting journey. Who'd have thought that I believed already in the fundamentals of what we're reading in the alien interview? Ariel, as we're going to discover, looks at us as is, which is. Is always is. We're gods. We entertain ourselves. And many people cannot rise to that acceptance that they're a God. Can't do it. It's difficult. But yet, the very religion, in this case, what I was in, teaches it. So, who'd have thought? I believed that I was going to go to heaven. My name was written in the Lamb's Book of Life. So I had the golden ticket. And, too bad for everybody else, and then the mind trap is that, well, once you think you've got the golden ticket, well, now you've got to make really sure you keep the golden ticket. You see, they say all are accepted, but when you walk through the door, all the conditions come out. And if you don't read the fine print, they got you. But in any case, when I believe that I was a spirit, even back in my theologian days, I used to preach in the prisons and teach as well. And, the question of the soul was always, well, well, I think there's a part that says, I think it's actually in Hebrews 4:12, the dividing of spirit and soul. Anyway, listen to last night's program, writing a book on it. So this conversation ensued today that, it really comes down to some fundamental, basic questions. And if you can't answer them, then, well, you deal with it. So here we are. The fact that I believed that I was a spirit made that belief by default, whether I was aware or unaware of it, that I was immortal. Who'd have thought? Many find it hard to see a time where there wasn't a beginning. X marks the spot, right? But as I talked on the radio show in depth about, the fact that you believe that you are an immortal spirit, by its simple definition, means that you can't have a beginning and you can't have an end. Because if you have a beginning, then you're finite. And I don't care how you want to argue what the end is, you're finite. That's problematic. Because if you're finite as a spirit, well, that means there can be an end. But that's what the religion taught, though. You had to be born again. I challenge, how can a spirit be made good or bad? I mean, in the highest sense, I think of awareness, of consciousness of self. There is no good or evil. Those are filtered down byproducts. But at the very top, where I is, reigns, you are. And you are being, because being is always a future state of being. And it's hard, it's difficult for us. I can see where religions get built around this. I can see it. In fact, I think many have. I don't, it's like this information. Does a spirit, when a spirit is conceived, is it conceived with all knowledge, all wisdom? Does a spirit need to grow? Not all spirits are not the same. So this gets interesting. And it brings us to where we are now with Ariel. So I got over, I guess 6 or so emails. And when I get those in succession, I pay attention to it. Hello, Patrick, how are you doing? Good to see you, my friend. Next Tuesday, Talking with Planets. Oh, yeah. I got some questions now. I really do. And thank you for all the encouraging emails. People are really loving this. Those who don't have the whereabouts to actually download the PDF, they're loving this. We have a number of people in our community who listen to what I'm saying while they're doing their other things. And so, to all of you that are out there on your jobs, I trust that it's going well. And so, let's get to this. So, I wanted to pull up for everybody give me one second here, because this is going to get into this crazy experience last night. I know I wrote in there, I said, how many of you people woke up? I woke up tired, like I had been working all day long through the night. But according to my wife, I was sleeping extremely soundly. So people wanted some background. All right, who is Matilda O'Donnell? How did all of this start? So again, we'll just go to chapter 1. It's no big deal. Kind of cool. Gives everyone a point of reference. So Matilda, you can see when they changed the identity. They do that. Witness protection program. It happens, folks. But anyway, her Mrs. Matilda O'Donnell McElroy, Senior Master Sergeant, Women's Army, Air Force, Medical Corps, retired, and she had moved from the United States to get away from all of this. By the way, this symbol is the symbol of the domain. The domain is a race or civilization of which Ariel, the alien I interview, is an officer, pilot, and engineer serving the domain expeditionary force. The symbol represents the origin and unlimited boundary of a known universe, united and integrated into a vast civilization under the control of the domain. So kind of gives you a little bit a background on that. Well, heck, I wasn't even going to do this, but might as well. So, because it does kind of get a little weird. So, this is the letter that she wrote to this gentleman, supposedly. And it reads as following. Dear Lawrence, I'm typing this letter to you on my old Underwood typewriter that I have bought after I was discharged from the Army. Somehow it seems like a fitting contrast to the subject of this letter and the documents you will find enclosed in this envelope. The last time I spoke to you was about 8 years ago. During your brief telephone interview with me, you asked me to assist you with the research for the Oz Factors, a book you were writing because you suspected that I might know something that would help your investigation into the possibility that extraterrestrial beings may have influenced the history of Earth. When we spoke, I told you that I did not have any information that I could share with you about anything. Since then, I have read your book and found it to be very interesting and compelling. You are obviously a man who has done his homework and who could understand my own experiences. I've been thinking a lot about your allusions to the old philosopher whom you paraphrased in our phone conversation. With great power comes great responsibility. Although I don't think power is pertinent in my life or any of my reasons for sending you the enclosed documents, you certainly did get my thinking about my responsibility. And folks, that's, I think, the one thing I'm seeing in this community is that we're getting that understanding. We each have to accept responsibility for ourselves. Each one of us are on our own independent journey. The great thing is that we can come together in these enclaves and share with like-minded beings. A rare opportunity indeed. And now I understand, I think I'm getting an idea. I got a sense that somewhere way back there, folks, way back there, many of us are excited because we're sensing something that's a part of us that was taken away. Anyway, I digress. I have reconsidered my position for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is my realization that you were right. I do have a responsibility to myself, at least. I cannot possibly tell you the personal hell of ethical irresolutions and spiritual ambivalence I've endured since 1947. I do not want to keep playing the game of maybe I should have or maybe I shouldn't have, through the rest of eternity. When you're about to cross over, yeah. Many men have been killed to extinguish the possibility of revealing the knowledge I have helped to withhold from society until now. Only a small handful of people on earth have seen and heard what I have had the burden of keeping secret for 60 years. All those years, I thought that I had been entrusted with a great deal of confidence by the powers that be in our governments. Although I have often felt that power is greatly misguided to protect mankind from the certain knowledge that not only do intelligent extraterrestrial life forms exist, but that they have and continue to aggressively monitor and invade the lives of everyone on Earth every day. Therefore, I think the time has come to pass along my secret knowledge to someone I think will understand it. I don't think it would be responsible of me to take the knowledge I have into the silent afterlife, beyond reach of or recognition. I think there is a greater good to be served than protecting the vested interest for whom this information is considered a matter of national security, whatever that means, and is therefore justification for making it top secret. Also, I am now 83 years old. I have decided to leave this body, which has outlasted its usefulness to me. Using a painless method of self-administered euthanasia, I have a very few months to live and nothing to fear or lose. So, I have moved away from Montana, where my husband and I lived for most of my life, to spend our remaining days in a lovely rented upstairs bedroom in a house in the homeland of my husband's family in country Meath. I think it's Meath, Ireland. I will die not far from the great mound at Noath and Dowth, the fairy mound of darkness. These are sacred cairns, or massive stone structures that were erected about 37 BC and engraved with indecipherable hieroglyphs about the same time as the pyramids and other inexplicable stone monuments were being built all over the earth. I am also not far from the Hill of Tara, that was once the ancient seat of power in Ireland, where 142 kings are said to have reigned in prehistoric and historic times. In ancient Irish religion and mythology, this was the sacred place of dwelling for the gods and was the entrance to the other world. St. Patrick came to Tara to conquer the ancient religion of the pagans. He may have suppressed the religious practices in the area, but he certainly did not have any impact on the gods who brought these civilizations to earth. As you will discover when you read the documents enclosed, therefore, this is a fitting location for my departure from this unholy world and final release from the burdens of this life. The crystal clear perspective of hindsight has revealed a higher purpose to me, assisting the survival of the planet, all living beings and life forms in our galaxy. The status quo of our government establishment has been to protect the people from knowledge of such matters. In fact, the only protection afforded by ignorance and secrecy is to hide the private agenda of those empowered to enslave others. And by doing so, to disarm every perceived enemy and ally through superstition and stupidity. Therefore, I have enclosed the original and only existing copies of my personal notes and reflections on a matter which I kept hidden from everyone, even my own family. I have also enclosed my copies of typed transcripts created by the stenographer who transcribed all of my interviews with the alien saucer pilot after each interview was finished. I do not have any copies of the tape recordings that were made of my interview reports. No one until now knows that I was able to secretly retain copies of the official interview transcripts. Now I am entrusting these documents to your discretion to impart to the world in any form or manner you see fit. My only request is that you do so in a way that will not threaten your own life or well-being, if possible. If you were to incorporate these notes of my experience into a work of fiction, such as a novel, then factual nature of the material could be easily dismissed or discredited by any agency for whom national security is used as a personal shield against scrutiny and justice. In doing so, you could disavow any knowledge of their true origin and claim that it is a fictitious work of your imagination. Whoever said that truth is stranger than fiction was right as rain. For most people, all of this will be unbelievable. Unfortunately, beliefs are not a reliable criteria for reality. Wow. How about that, folks? Beliefs are not reliable criteria for reality. Huh. Also, I'm sure that if you were to show these notes to anyone that would prefer physical, economic, or spiritual slavery over freedom, the subject matter contained in them would then seem quite objectionable. If you attempted to publish the documents as a material of fact, a matter of factual reporting in a newspaper or on the evening TV news, they would be rejected out of hand as a work of a kook. The very nature of these documents make them unbelievable and therefore discreditable. Conversely, the release of this information is potentially catastrophic for certain political, religious, and economic vested interests. These documents contain information which is quite relevant to your interest in investigation into alien encounters and paranormal experience. To use your analogy in the Oz Factors book, I can honestly say that the few factual reports that have been made by others about alien influences are only a gentle breeze in the eye of the apocalyptic hurricane swirling around Earth. There really are wizards and wicked witches and flying monkeys in this universe. I knew it. I knew it. You know, I had a crush on Glinda. I think every boy at that time, I think I was 8, had a crush on Glinda. I mean, who didn't? And now we find out Frank wrote the thing because he got the inside tip. I'm convinced of this, folks. This is just my hypothesis, is that there is more truth in this book than fiction. I think they also released it to Hollywood. Think about it. What more perfect way to do disclosure? You are completely innocent. How many movies began the genre, folks, in the 50s? I know When I was a kid of 5 in the 60s, 1960 particularly, every afternoon they had science fiction theater. And how many movies did we see? Flying saucers, aliens, robots, computers, ray guns, Commander Cody. How many of y'all remember that? He was one of my idols. You know, Buck Henry. I mean, it just goes on and on. Buck Henry, not Buck Rogers, excuse me. I think it started back then. Look where it's gone now. Anyway, this information, which has been suspected and or speculated upon by so many for so long, has been constantly denied by mainstream media, academia, and the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower warned us about in his farewell address. As you know, in July 1947, the Roswell Army Airfield, RAFF, issued a press release stating that personnel from the field's 509th Bomb Group had recovered a crash flying disc from a ranch near Roswell, New Mexico, sparking intense media interest. Later that same day, the commanding general of the 8th Air Force stated that Major Jesse Marcel, who was involved with the original recovery of the debris, had recovered only the tattered remains of a weather balloon. The true facts of the incident have been suppressed by the United States government since then. You may not know that I was enlisted in the United States Women's Army Air Force Medical Corps, which was part of the U.S. Army back then. I was assigned to the 509th Bomb Group as a flight nurse at the time of the incident. When the news that there had been a crash was received at the base, I was asked to accompany Mr. Cabot, the counterintelligence officer, to the crash site as the driver of his vehicle and to render any needed emergency medical assistance to any survivors if necessary. Therefore, I briefly witnessed the wreckage of an alien spacecraft as well as the remains of several alien personnel aboard the craft who were already dead. When we arrived, I learned that one of the personnel on board the craft had survived the crash and was conscious and apparently uninjured. The conscious alien was similar in appearance, but not as the same as the others. None of the other personnel present could communicate with the survivor, as the being did not communicate verbally or by any recognizable signs. However, while I examined the patient for injuries, I immediately detected and understood that the alien being was attempting to communicate with me by mental images or telepathic thought, which projected directly from the mind of the being. I immediately reported this phenomenon to Mr. Cabot, as no other person present could perceive these thoughts, and the alien seemed able and willing to communicate with me. It was decided, after a brief consultation with the senior officer, that I would accompany the surviving alien back to the base. This was partly due to the fact that I was a nurse and could attend to the physical needs of the alien, as well as serve as a non-threatening communicator and companion. After all, I was the only woman at the site and the only one who was not armed. I was therefore assigned permanently to serve as a companion to the alien at all times. My duty was to communicate with and interview the alien and to make a complete report of all that I discovered to command authorities. Subsequently, I was supplied with specific list of questions provided to me by military and non-military personnel, which I was to interpret for the alien and record the response to the questions provided. I also accompanied the alien at all times during medical testing and many other examinations to which the alien was subjected by staff from numerous government agencies. I was given a promotion in rank to Senior Master Sergeant to improve my security rating and to increase my pay grade from $54 a month to $138 a month for this very unusual assignment. I performed these duties from July 7th through August 1947, at which time the alien died or departed the body, as you will read about in my notes. Although I was never left entirely alone with the alien, as there were many military personnel, intelligent agent people, and a variety of other officials present from time to time, I did have uninterrupted access and communication with the alien being for nearly 6 weeks. Hereinafter is an overview and summary of my personal recollections and conversations with the alien craft pilot, whom I came to know by the identity of Ariel. I feel that it is my duty at this time, in the best interest of the citizens of Earth, to reveal that I have learned from my interaction with Ariel during those 6 weeks on the anniversary of her death or departure 60 years ago. Although I have served as a nurse in the Army Air Force, I am not a pilot or technician. Further, I did not have any direct contact with the spacecraft or any other materials recovered from the crash site at the time or thereafter. To that degree, it must be taken into consideration that my understanding of the communications I had with Ariel are based on my own subjective ability to interpret the meaning of the thoughts and mental images I was able to perceive. Our communication did not consist of spoken language in the conventional sense. Indeed, the body of the alien had no mouth through which to speak. Our communication was by telepathy. At first, I could not understand Ariel very clearly. I could perceive images, emotions, and impressions, but it was difficult for me to express these verbally. Once Ariel learned the English language, she was able to focus her thoughts more precisely using symbols and meanings of words I could understand. Learning the English language was done as a favor to me. It was more for my benefit than hers. By the end of our interactive interview sessions, and increasingly since then, I have become more comfortable with telepathic communication. I have become more adept at it and understanding Ariel's thoughts as though they were my own. Somehow, her thoughts become my thoughts. Her emotions are my emotions. However, this is limited by her willingness and intention to share her own personal universe with me. She is able to be selective about what communication I'm allowed to receive from her. Likewise, her experience, training, education, relationships, and purposes are uniquely her own. This is the symbol of the domain. The domain is a race or civilization of which Ariel, the alien I interviewed, is an officer, pilot, engineer serving the domain expeditionary force. The symbol represents the origin and unlimited boundary of the known universe, united and integrated into a vast civilization under the control of the domain. Ariel is currently stationed at a base in the asteroid belt, which she refers as a space station in the solar system of Earth. First and foremost, Ariel is herself. Secondarily, she voluntarily serves as an officer, pilot, and engineer in the Domain Expeditionary Force. In that capacity, she has duties and responsibilities, but she is at leave to come and go as she pleases also. Please accept this material and make it known to as many people as possible. I repeat that it is not my intention to endanger your life with the possession of this material, nor do I really expect you to believe any of it either. However, I do sense that you can appreciate the value that such knowledge may have to those who are willing and able to face the reality of it. Mankind needs to know the answers to questions which are contained in these documents. Who are we? Where did we come from? What is our purpose on Earth? Is mankind alone in the universe? If there is intelligent life elsewhere, why have they not contacted us? It is vital that people understand the devastating consequences to our spiritual and physical survival if we fail to take effective action to undo the long-standing and pervasive effects of an alien intervention on Earth. Perhaps the information in these documents will serve as a stepping stone to a better future for mankind. I hope that you can be more clever, creative, and courageous in the distribution of this information than I have been. May the gods bless you and keep you, Mrs. Matilda O'Donnell, McElroy, Senior Master Sergeant. Chapter 1. By the time the alien had been returned to the base, I had already spent several hours with her. As I mentioned, Mr. Cravett told me to stay with the alien, since I was the only person among us who could understand her communication. I could not understand my ability to communicate with the being. I had never before that time experienced telepathic communication with anyone. The nonverbal communication I experienced was like the understanding you might have when a child or a dog is trying to get your attention to get you to understand something, but much, much more direct and powerful. Even though there was no words spoken or signs made, the intention of the thoughts were unmistakable to me. I realized later that although I received the thought, I did not necessarily interpret its meaning exactly. I think that the alien being was not willing to discuss technical matters due to the nature of her position as an officer and pilot with the duty to maintain the security and confidentiality required by her own unit or organization. Any soldier who is captured by the enemy in the line of duty has a responsibility to withhold vital information, even in the face of interrogation or torture, of course. But in spite of that, I have always felt that the alien being was not really trying to hide anything from me. I never got that feeling. Her communication always seemed honest and sincere to me. But I suppose you can never know for sure. I definitely feel that I shared a unique bond with the alien. It was a kind of a trust, or how shall we say, empathy, that you have with a patient or a child. I think this is because the alien could understand that I was really interested in her and had no harmful intention, nor would I allow any harm to come to her if I could prevent it. This was true. I refer to the alien as her. Actually, the being was not sexual in any way, either, how should we say, physiologically or psychologically. She did have a rather strong feminine presence and demeanor. However, in terms of physiology, the being was asexual and had no internal or external reproductive organs. Her body was more like the body of a doll or a robot. There was no internal organs, as the body was not constructed of biological cells. It did have a kind of circuit system or electrical nervous system that ran throughout the body, but I could not understand how it worked. In stature and appearance, the body was quite short and petite, about 40 inches tall. The head was disproportionately large relative to arms, legs, and torso, which were thin. There was 3 fingers on each of the 2 hands and feet, which were somewhat prehensile. The head had no operational nose or mouth or ears. I understood that a space officer does not need these, as space has no atmosphere to conduct sound. Therefore, sound related to sensory organs are not built into the body, nor does the body need to consume food, hence the absence of a mouth. The eyes were quite large. I was never able to determine the exact degree of visual acuity of which the eyes were capable, but I observed that her sense of sight must have been extremely acute. I think the lenses of the eyes, which were very dark and opaque, may have, I don't know, may have been able to detect waves or particles beyond the visual spectrum of light. I suspect that this may have included the full range of the electromagnetic spectrum or more, but I do not know this for sure. When the being looked at me, her gaze seemed to penetrate right through me, as though she had X-ray vision. I found this a little embarrassing at first, until I realized that she had no sexual intentions. In fact, I don't even think she even had thought that I was male or female. It became very obvious after a short time with the being that her body did not require oxygen, food, or water, or any other external source of nutrition or energy. As I later learned, this being supplied her own energy, which animated and operated the body. It seemed a little bit eerie at first, but I got used to the idea. It's really a very, very simple body. There's not much to it compared to our own bodies. Ariel explained to me that it was not mechanical, like a robot, nor was it biological. It is animated directly by her as a spiritual being. Technically, from a medical standpoint, I would say that Ariel's body could not even be called alive. Her doll body is not a biological life form with cells and so forth. It had a smooth skin or covering, which was gray in color. The body was highly tolerant to changes in temperature, atmospheric conditions, and pressure. The limbs were quite frail, without musculature. In space, there's no gravity, so very little muscular strength is needed. The body was used almost entirely on spacecraft or in low or no gravity environments. Since Earth has a heavy gravity, the body was not able to walk around very well, as the legs were not really suited to that purpose. The feet and the hands were quite flexible and agile, however. Overnight, before my first interview with the alien, the area had been transformed into a buzzing hive of activity. There were dozens of men working and setting up lights and camera equipment, the motion picture cameras and microphones and tape recorders, wherever. They were also set up in the quote unquote interview room. I don't understand why a microphone was needed, since there was no verbal communication possible with the alien. But anyway, there was also a stenographer and several people busily typing on typewriters. I was informed that an expert foreign language interpreter and code breaking team had been flown to the base during the night to assist with my efforts to communicate with the alien. There were also several medical personnel, specialists in various fields, to examine the alien. And a professor of psychology was there to help formulate questions and interpret the answers. As I was just a nurse, I was not considered to be a qualified interpreter, even though I was the only one there who could understand anything the alien was thinking. So goes the military intelligence. There were many subsequent conversations between us. Each interview resulted in the exponential increase in understanding between us. As I will discuss later on my notes, this was the first transcript with the answers to the list of questions provided to me by the intelligence officer at the base, which I debriefed to the stenographer immediately following the interview. Official transcript of interview, top secret. Official transcript of the United States Army Air Force, Roswell Army Air Force Field, 509th Bomb Group, subject alien interview, 971947. Questions: are you injured? Answer: no. Question: what medical assistance do you require? Answer: none. Question: do you need food or water or other substance? Answer: no. Question: do you have any special environmental needs, such as air, temperature, atmospheric, chemical content, air pressure, or waste elimination? Answer: no. I am not a biological being. Question: does your body or spacecraft carry any germs or contamination that may be harmful to humans or other Earth life forms? Answer: no germs in space. Question: does your government know you are here? Answer: not at this time. Question: are others of your kind going to come looking for you? Answer: yes. Question: what is the weapons capability of your people? Answer: very destructive. I did not understand the exact nature of the kind of arms or weapons that they might have, but I did not feel that there was any malevolent intention on her reply. Just a statement of fact. Question. Why did your spacecraft crash? Answer. It was struck by an electrical discharge from the atmosphere, which caused us to lose control. Question. Why was your spacecraft in this area? Answer. Investigation of burning clouds, radiation, explosions. Question. How does your spacecraft fly? Answer. It is controlled through mind, responds to thought commands. This is Matilda speaking. Mind or thought command are the only English language words I can think of to describe the thought. Their bodies, and I think the spacecraft, are connected directly to them through some kind of electrical nervous system that they control with their own thoughts. Question. How do your people communicate with each other? Answer. Through mind, thought. This is the nurse. The words mind and thought combined together are the closest English language words I can think of to describe the idea at this time. However, it was very obvious to me that they communicated directly from the mind, just as she is communicating with me. Question. Do you have a written language or symbols for communication? Answer. Yes. Question. What planet are you from? Answer. The home, birthplace world of the domain. Here's our nurse talking. Since I'm not an astronomer, I have no way of thinking in terms of stars, galaxies, constellations, and directions in space. The impression I received was of a planet in the center of a huge cluster of galaxies that is, to her, like home or birthplace. The word domain is the closest word I can think of to describe her concept, images, and thoughts about where she is from. It could easily be called the territory or the realm. However, I'm sure that it was not just a planet or solar system or a cluster of stars, but an enormous number of galaxies. Question. Will your government send representatives to meet with our leaders? Answer. No. Question. What are your intentions concerning Earth? Answer. Preserve, protect property of the domain. Question. What have you learned about Earth, government, and military installations? Answer. Poor, small, destroyed planet. Question. Why haven't your people made your existence known to the people of Earth? Answer. Watch, observe, no contact. I got the impression that contact with people on Earth was not permitted, but I could not think of a word or idea that communicated the impression I got exactly. They're just observing us. Question. Have your people visited Earth previously? Answer. Periodic, repeating observations. Question. How long have you known about Earth? Answer. Long before humans. I am not sure if the word prehistoric would be accurate, but it was definitely a very long period of time before human beings evolved. Question. What do you know about the history of civilization on Earth? Answer. Small interest, attention, small time. The answer to this question seemed very vague to me. However, I perceived that her interest in Earth history is not very strong, or that she did not pay much attention to it. Or maybe, I don't know, I didn't really get an answer to the question. Question. Can you describe your home world to us? Answer. Place of civilization, culture, history. Large planet, wealth. Resources always. Order, power, knowledge, wisdom. 2 stars, 3 moons. Question: what is the state of development of your civilization? Answer: ancient. Trillions of years. Always. Above all others. Plan, schedule, progress, win, high goals, ideas. I use the number trillions because I am sure that the meaning was a number larger than many billions. The idea of length of time she communicated is beyond me. It's really closer to the idea of affinity in terms of Earth years. Question: do you believe in God? Answer: we think it is. Make it continue always. I am sure that the alien being does not understand the concept of God or worship as we do. I assume that the people in her civilization were all atheist. My impression was that they think very highly of themselves and are very prideful indeed. Question: what type of society do you have? Answer: order, power, future always, control, growth. These are the closest words I could use to describe the idea she had about her own society or civilization. Her emotion when communicating her response to this question became very intense, very bright, very emphatic. Her thought was filled with emotions that gave me a feeling of jubilation or joy, but it made me very nervous also. Question: are there other intelligent life forms besides yourself, excuse me, in the universe? Answer: everywhere. We are greatest, highest of all. Due to her small stature, I'm sure that she did not mean tallest or biggest. Again, her prideful nature showed through in the feeling I received from her. And okay, so let's just finish out with her notes. This was the conclusion of the first interview. When the answers to the first list of questions were typed and given to the people who were waiting for them, they were very excited that I was able to get the alien to say anything. However, after they finished reading my answers, they were disappointed that I could not understand more clearly. Now they had a lot of new questions because the answers I received to the first list of questions. An officer told me to await further instructions. I waited for several hours in the adjoining office. I was not allowed to continue my interview with the alien. However, I was always well treated and allowed to eat and sleep and use the restroom facilities whenever I wanted. Eventually, a new list of questions were written for me to ask the alien. I gathered that quite a few other agents, government, and military officials had arrived at the base by this time. They told me that several other people would be in the room with me during the next interview so that they could prompt me to ask for more details during the interview. However, when I attempted to conduct the interview with these people in the rooms, I received no thoughts, emotions, or any other perceptible communication from the alien. Nothing. The alien just sat there in the chair without moving. We all left the interview room. The intelligent agent became very agitated about this. He accused me of lying or making up the answers to the first question. I insisted that my answers were honest and as accurate as I could make them. Later that day, it was decided that several other people would attempt to ask questions of the alien. However, in spite of several attempts by different experts, no one else was ever able to get any communication at all from the alien. Over the next several days of psychic research, a scientist from back east was flown to the base to interview the alien. Her name was Gertrude, something or another. I don't recall the last name. On another occasion, an Indian clairvoyant named Krishnamatu came to the base to try to communicate with the alien. Neither one was successful at getting the alien to communicate communicate anything. I was personally not able to communicate telepathically with either of these people either. Although I did think that Mr., and I think that's Kermashadu, I don't know, Murati, was very kind and an intelligent gentleman. Finally, it was decided that I should be left with the alien by myself to see if I could get my answers. Well, there you go, folks. How about that? Interesting read, isn't it? So now I think we've got everybody caught up on this, and now we know what's happening. And the stories that we've gotten, wouldn't it make sense that they altered the details? I mean, the perception I had was completely different. You know, we see these aliens captured supposedly with mouth, ears, and what have you. But when you begin to think about this, then why would they be alive anyway? Ariel was right. Space is cold. It's a vacuum. You're traveling vast distances. You don't need, you think about space travel today. I know I've gone over a little bit here, but everything in our voyages to the moon, to the Mars, is we have to pack food. We have to take care of the waste that we produce. It takes up great volumes. When in fact, you can have a craft that would be literally built around you. And your body would not be subject to the radiation, the whoever else knows what else is out there. So we'll pick this up on Monday. I think this is going to be fun. When we get to the end of it, hell, who knows? We'll probably start having people being awakened, getting their memories. I'm telling you, folks, the image I got today, there's a rescue. I'm convinced of it. I wrote this down. Last night, 10:40 p.m., wife and I heard a strange radio signal. It had, she heard, I think, 4, 5 different octaves of notes. I heard a little bit more. My hearing's a little bit more in tune, but in any case, and we're walking around trying to figure this out. We didn't have anything on. Anyway, it eventually stopped. So who knows? Maybe this is the trigger. Maybe this, folks, is the trigger. You know, it happens in hypnosis. They're finding now it can actually help in medical science with our bodies, but there are triggers to recall. Well, thank you, Amanda. Well, you're very kind, my dear. Thank you. But who knows? I don't think that time existed before now. You think about it, where we have a medium, where we can begin to give vocalization to these words. Who knew? Maybe the domain. Now, I don't like the domain. I'm telling you, I get the idea that it's kind of an either or thing. You know, well, we may have been under the old regime, but I don't think the domain, now they may have a class of system that works just fine. They seem to be more tolerant of the nonconformist. How many of you are nonconformist? Seriously, how many of you got in trouble through school? I did. Now I'm understanding. We knew these things, I think, coming in. And as the story, as we unfold, gets more interesting, it provides a lot of answers for me. Those of you who have read the book and have written to me, it's answered a lot of your questions. You know, again, we'll take it with a grain of salt, but it's a damn fun read, isn't it? All right, folks, I'm going to have Chelsea Rose on tonight. She's one in our community. Been looking to have her on. Was going to have her on last week, but we got a house full. So tonight we'll have a little bit more quieter domain. You see, look at that. A quieter domain. I wonder why it's a domain that we get on the internet. A perfect machine. Yeah, think about it. The domain. Yeah, Robert, I see what you're writing as well. Absolutely. This is a very, very odd. you know, who knows? Maybe so many of us are going to realize, I know you. So that's where you've been hiding at, you know? And you really could walk up and go, well, hey, bro, how you been, man? Like, man, I've been lost, dazed, and confused for so long, I don't know what to do. Folks, we've got to laugh. I'm telling you. I mean, it may be going to hell in a handbasket around us, but, at least for a little bit of time, we get to come together, we share, we laugh, we cry, and we discover a little bit more. But I'm going to tell you what, man, I want one of those doll babies. You think about it. Now you can see where the transhumanists have been moved. You see, there's too many correlating tentacles coming back to this story. Transhumanism, transference of consciousness into an artificial body. Think about this. Ariel, to me, is what we are, where we should have been. We should have been spiritually matured by now. I think we were. I think because of the amnesia, we've regressed. Just my opinion. All right, folks. Been fun. Gone over. I know. All right. Be good to yourselves. We'll talk tonight. We'll see how the conversation goes. Thank you to all the moderators. Yeah, sex dolls are already here. Yeah, they're also giving them apparently brains. So what does that tell us? Artificial intelligence. You're figuring it out. We're getting closer, Brian. Closer. Remember what the Three Stooges says: step by step, inch by inch. So we're getting there. All right, folks. Thank you all. I appreciate you. We'll see you again later tonight. And man, I'm looking forward to Monday on this one. All right. Be good to yourself. Have a great weekend. And hey, freedom is pretty top shelf, isn't it? Man, I just want to get my memory back. All right, folks. We'll talk soon. Not going to cut myself off. Tell you won't. Bye-bye.